Hello, good morning, everybody. I hope you all are doing very well. So I want to do 30 minutes, at most 30 minutes, then leave. I just want to say this. I watched just little of the so-called dialogue on, they call it FGM and Islam. And I want to say this. The first thing is that, the Supreme Islamic Council must not fall for this. The Supreme Islamic Council must not fall for this. The moment they have FGM there, it means it is not something good. They're not up to good. The moment they wrote FGM there, it means they're not up to something good. Look, the Almighty didn't, bring the religion for Egypt to decide, for Saudi Arabia to decide, for whoever to decide. He brought the religion for Muslims to decide. So he didn't tell that it is Saudi Arabia or Egypt that should do this, or what, whichever Gulf country it is about. First, Islamic scholars that are speaking to their fellow Muslims will not dress in suit. Islamic scholars that are to speak to their fellow Muslims will not dress in suit in Western culture. They will dress in an Islamic dressing or tradition that will reflect the way their fellow Muslims dress. That's one observation. Islamic scholars will not dress in Western culture when they are to address their fellow Muslims. Muhammad al-Awwa, where is he from? Egypt. What book did he write? He wrote a book about attempting to reform Islam. And he's from Egypt. Where is Sisi from? Sisi is the president of Egypt. Who is number one ally of the United States in Africa? Egypt. Egypt is number one ally of the United States in Africa. The United States' number one ally in Africa is Egypt. And you think Egypt is going to do anything that goes against what the United States wants? Why is Egypt closing the Rafah border between Palestine or West Bank and Egypt? Why are they closing the border? The Rafah crossing point. Why are they closing that? Because the US and Israel do not allow them to do that. You see, people have to understand, geopolitics. They need to understand how geopolitics works. Don't fall with this. They're trying to get a way out to get what they want. That's why they brought all this nonsense. It is not dialogue. It's not dialogue. And these people are sellouts. You cannot be out to talk to your fellow Muslims and dress like, people that are out of the Muslim, circle. Not out of, like people that are out of the Muslim circle. You're not talking to them. And the scientific evidence that they're talking about, like, they cannot go to the United States to talk about hudectomy and then say that they're talking about FGM. They're not going to do that. And the references that they gave of the World Bank, the International Obstetric, who are the sponsors of those organizations? Who are the sponsors of those organizations? Who are the sponsors of WHO? Who are the sponsors of the World Bank? We were all here during the COVID pandemic when Donald Trump threatened the WHO with regards to funding. We were here when WHO were threatened by the United States regarding funding. Because the WHO made a publication about COVID that the United States is not happy about. And they threatened the WHO about funding and threatened the WHO Director General with sanctions. And these are the organizations that they are giving reference to. These are the organizations they're giving reference to. Even when the organization gives a scientific standpoint about COVID, because it doesn't fall with the United States, it doesn't fall with the wishes of Donald Trump, he threatened the WHO. How then will the United States and its partners not put WHO to doing or saying what they want them to say about female circumcision? Why won't they say that? But people have to understand. This is basic knowledge, basic understanding, basic understanding. People have said, me, I want to debate with people. You cannot talk. I want to debate with people like Aissatou Touré, with Babali, and any other who thinks that circumcision is the same as mutilation. Those are the people I want to debate with, not you. Not you. Because you are not different from the other NGOs who have been given UNICEF, WHO, UNDP money to speak for them. The same as this dialogue that they're talking about. This is not a dialogue. It's an imposition. It's not a dialogue. It's an imposition of a message that they want to impose on the people. And now they're looking for other people to give that. You don't do that to someone that has got a standing point. You don't do that to one that has got a standing point. You impose on a person that will have no legs to stand on. You impose on someone who has no legs to stand on. You don't impose to someone who has legs to stand on. You don't do that. This is just another futile, exercise. It's another wasteful exercise because it's not going to work. You cannot be dialoguing about female circumcision and make a conclusion that it is female genital mutilation. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. And all over the world, cosmetic surgery is being done on women. Cosmetic surgery is being done on women. And in fact, many of those women that undergo cosmetic surgery develop complications. And nobody talk about it. You see women having complications of boot surgery. They make boot implant and become, complicated and die of it. Nobody is making noise about that. Nobody is making noise about that. Women have, cosmetic surgery on their labia, on their clitoris. Nobody talks about it because the NGO is not interested in that. The NGOs are not interested in that. So they're not going to talk about that. How is female circumcision done rightly different from hysterectomy that is done all over the world? But you want to tell, when you challenge them in making a comparison of the hysterectomy and female circumcision, they will talk about consent. And when you challenge them about consent for the male counterparts, they will say, no, you are talking apples and oranges. As if there is a new meaning for the adage, not talking apples and oranges. As if there is a new meaning to that. To the phrase that you shouldn't talk apples and oranges. Anyone that is bothered about mutilation, anyone that is bothered about having a stop to mutilation will encourage the modernization of the practice, just like what you're doing for the women. The hysterectomy that you're doing for the women, you encourage that. You promote that. Tell them that, hey, it shouldn't be for everybody, but whoever wants to do it, you come to the hospital and do it. And see whether they're not going to do it. Of course they will do it. But that's not what you are interested in. You are not interested in putting an end to mutilation. Your interest is to eradicate the whole practice. Your interest is to eradicate the whole practice. That's your interest. That's your interest. And you want to eradicate the whole practice when it is even happening in the West. How is that possible? You eradicating a practice that is even happening in the West. And you talk about mutilation. You see women removing the whole breast and wanting to be men. What is that? What is that? When you talk about mutilation, you don't just remove skin, but you remove the skin with the flesh. What does removing a breast mean? What does that mean? If you have to remove the whole breast, is it only the skin that you're removing, or you're not removing the flesh? And that's mutilation. And that's mutilation. But you don't count that as mutilation. You don't count that as mutilation. You have seen women that will add, extra buttocks to them. What is that? Where do they remove that from? Where do they remove that from? And you have seen men do the same, put implants. What is that? You have seen women remove, excite the parts of their labia. What is that called? That's not mutilation. You cut the labia that you said it is big. That it is big, you have to cut it up. What is that? Is that not mutilation? But all these are happening. I said this yesterday. Scientific data is like medicine that the doctor gives you. Scientific data, the data that the people use to make scientific studies, to make conclusions, is like the medicine that the doctor gives you. If the doctor gives you wrong medicine and you drink it, it's going to bring side effects. It's the same way with the data. If the researcher picks wrong data and gives it to you, it's going to create wrong conclusions. It's going to give you wrong conclusions. Data is like medicine. And we've seen it all over the world, especially in the pharmaceutical industry. Interest groups sponsor studies because they want a drug to be approved. They sponsor studies to get approval for drugs, in return get money from that. A mere Google search will give you this. Mere Google search. Just put Google search bias, research bias, and you see primary leading factor to research bias is interest group. Just do a mere Google search. It's just like saying the United States sponsors a study on human rights violations in Ukraine, and you expect that study to exonerate Russia. And you expect such a study exonerating Russia, that the US sponsors a study in Ukraine about human rights violations that will exonerate Russia. How is that logic to you? How is that logic to you? Or the US telling you that, oh no, we're going to be upright. We're not. How is that? How will that make logic to you? How will that make logic to you? Or Israel sponsoring a study on the non-existence of genocide in Palestine. How is that logic to you? That Israel is making a study to prove that there is no genocide in Palestine. How is that going to be logic to you? Just think about that. Just think about that. So the Gambia government, I understand very well the position of Gambia government, like any other beggar. Like any other beggar. Like any other beggar. He who feeds you decides on what you do. I understand that very well. I understand the position of Gambia government. And I understand very well the switch, the turn of Sidinjai in taking a new position, and the NPP government. I understand fully well their position, because this is a simple matter of policy. That they don't have money. They depend on donors. And this is the position of the donors. You have to be with us to continue receiving what you give us, or you're not going to be, you refuse to be with us and we cut the funding. That's the position of the position government is in. That's why government cannot take any open statement, make any open statement, or take any open position. They cannot do that because they are in a position of conflict. A position of conflict. They say this, they miss out in the funds. They say this, they miss out in the vote. So they are in a conflicted position. And I understand that. Everybody else understands that. And the best they could do is to remain silent. That is the best position they could take. Back in 2015 or 2013 or so, the EU did the same thing with Jammeh. If we are to release the funding, EU funding to the Gambia, you have to normalize homosexuality. Were you all not here? Were you all not here? That if you want us to release EU funds, you have to normalize homosexuality. You were all here. What is that? That is part of the modus operandi of these organizations, including NGOs. Including NGOs. Including NGOs. That is what they call weaponizing funding. Weaponizing funding. You use the funding as a weapon to instill what you want. That's what all these so-called development partners are doing. That's what these so-called development partners are doing. And they don't just do it like that. They use data, corrupt data, corrupt science to use it against people. They do that. They don't just impose on the people. They use, because they know that if they corrupt science, they could use that as an excuse. Just like these folks that we see in suits from Egypt trying to preach to us what the Western sponsors are telling them to do. What their Western sponsors are telling them to do. Talking about WHO, World Bank. Who are the sponsors of World Bank and WHO? Who are the sponsors of the International Federation of Obstetricians? Who are their sponsors? Who are their sponsors? Like I said the last time, any advocate of female circumcision must refuse to use the term FGM. Don't use it. Don't use it. Don't use it. Language matters in advocacy. Language matters in advocacy. Don't use it. What the tongue is used to saying becomes a mainstay. Refuse to use it. If they read FGM 100,000 times, don't use it. Don't say it. Don't say it, because they are two different things. Damfa and Dafe are not the same. Damfa and Dafe are not the same. Even if they want to sound the same, they're not the same. They're not the same. Refuse to use the acronym FGM. The objective is for you to continue using the acronym FGM so that FC will be extinct. So that FC will be extinct. Refuse to do that. They are corrupt scientists. I have been. Someone has confessed to me. Someone has confessed to me that a doctor impregnated her and another doctor aborted that pregnancy. The person confessed to me. A doctor impregnated her and another doctor, did the abortion. And these are the doctors that are advocating, that are, campaigning against female circumcision. These are the doctors that are campaigning against female circumcision. These two doctors involved are part of the people campaigning against female circumcision. They are in the forefront. They are in the forefront. So if you could, do abortion to a woman, how painful it is, and you think female circumcision is more painful than, aborting a woman. Do you know that abortion could lead to infection and could even lead to death? You know that? Do you know that? You could have infected abortion. Infected abortion. And it could lead to death. You don't know that? Yeah, but the people get these, NGO allowances, and they get you sell your faith. They get you sell your faith. You talk nonsense. Don't entertain it. Anything of this nature that they bring is a bait. Kutandingoleng, kutandingoleng, pour alkanasong. Alkanasong, Supreme Islamic Council, alkanasong. Muslimo na kacha lalia, pranali kacha, aye pare ko tubabol. Just like Aissatou Touré did at Kirfatu. It's the same way that these Egyptians, Muslimo nata prana monyo muslimo e kacha. Ame pare ko muslimo nyanti pare la nyamin. Ake pare ko tubabo. Iti yamro ko mari nata kairol. Oman nawala. Aman nawala. Amanda wato, it only reference me from ofenke. Jimal le call sponsor. Ye reference me from ofenke. WHO, International Federation of Obstetricians. Jimal le call sponsor. Jimal le ka kododi wala. Jimal le ka kododi wala. Jimal le ka kododi wala. Ni ol bejibe abodula ni ol bejibe ya yesilo ni noma at silo dandula ebe ifon obe job e ba fala ko hanin to nyante So it will come in command woman ka dialogue. Woman ka dialogue de. Ika for me angale ka moto imposition e bolto. E laftela kuma ka tala yo low ya tutu. E bolto. Bari yalo min fongo miyenyi fongo kaw kuya. It will be kato min to ting. Molle nyin kata fi batata fi fata. Ya tuje ma keno. Molle nyinke ya kata fi fata. E ma keno. So momo koko ka ike ka fenne kele mi yalon koko iti o tarajan. I mamal ni mamalu. Woli o kele fi batata ma fen keno. Ye fonyondi wole fi siata biti. Ye fonyondi wole fi siata biti. Nteme fo is very simple. Ni koko mutilation no woman betia. Titonyale woman betia. Saying jama balu bije kewolu. Iki samba kuyangoto laptanoto. Iki samba kuyangoto laptanoto. Nunto. Mol buka sol nun ke dingol samba laptanoto ke dinkewol samba laptanoto kuyangoto laptanoto. Ibuka son wala. Mo be kata wulol kon. Pari bi munul kay dingol samba wulo kono kuyangola. Aman siya. Munan na because saying jama balu be kake laptanolto. Munan ni to ke la musolta. Munani to si ukilimo fana kala musolla mino lafta kake ye samba loptano to yoke munani to kala boko be ki kan tubabu tule e ka fomi ye hudectomy o kilingolen e ko kilingola kuntu bare doctor rol kake munani to kala Gambia nay ko ilaftol munani to kala bayri to ko et ye ba minna islamo ye ba wol fana islamo ko yakena be kut domanding kila wolof sallallahu alaihi wasallam akoy domandin dorom bondiji islam o afuko e jama ba bondiji ikoy domandin bondiji tubabol bo domandingol bondi kanje tubabudu fuaro bu ko kede tubabudu fuaro bu ko ke fankamalu wolle ko keno buka da sertal so nim famamin da set et yamra ko nim fente woto e wol bokela ti yalo munul le fanko ke munul be sports to ni athletic because yalo no ko na warta bake aki batandile aki singol aka mai singol lale aka busi aka infect wala neng ika bondi te ko bondi ika kudo jama baljo ba munana wol mo bulaji munana mol mo bulaji munana ngol mo ngori ngoka jamfa nyami ni ma kuntu wo fana ka jamfa nyamal ni ma kuntu so munu ka nyin sport ke aka mai singol lale aka busi aka dimi asa infect no wala ne ko ke ika hudectomy ke ika kuntu isaje na kendiata dron at it will heal by fibrosis and it will not grow again wala ne ko ke so ni tol ko ke tubabu du ika kudo jama ba jo pour ko ke munan ni to ke la Gambia nakata mi mum problème mo be ba mi na wala mutilation ti nso ke no pour mutilation e bang munan na to ke la. Why can't we sponsor that? Why can't we advocate for, circumcision being done by health experts? Na example odijang. Jawarala government o jamano. Mol ye bang laptani, wulu wala. Musol, ye ba laptani wulu wala. Mo beka wulu suwakon. Iki bang kata laptan. But you want ko mo bebe wulu la laptani mo kidron. Eba bola Gambia. You mo for. It didn't do that. Ya mo intervention no lafenang. Ika for me ko traditional birth attendants. Ye molu tomban sati kono. Ye marilu karandi. Hulu nyala. Ya tandila ko nyini nying. Nyini nje musoto tingobe minna. Isa lonko ni namita drong abajaw yalal. Nyini nje drong. Isa lonko inyanta nyini nekala. Purka batatala. Ye karandi wala. They taught them the traditional birth attendants. Ye karandi wala. Perintolbe dindi yaring. Ni tingobe mole. Eka mo ko ta korda kari. Ye fenke kumandinang. Isa jaya nanang ay bombatulo ta ya munyina. Wala nanang ay amari ko momo. Ka momo ka dimotala. Wala nanang ay fay ko siteng. Sit this way, siteng. Ni one thing you could touch, we could, compress the baby and cause the baby into asphyxia. After ko singol yeleting. Will be able ye karandial. When we were young, we see that. They call women. Ya fay ko nanang kari tingola bala. Ayna ya fay ko sitting, isingol yeleting. Womo karal that those people are not doctors. We'll make a doctor role. But he taught them an intervention strategy. This is public health. This is public health. Ye karandiola. Bari yaku maso nyama. Ye dol fanan karandi nyenyin taman se roja nyin musola dorong. Inyanta sambala loptan ikana sindiji. Wo meri kilingol kanana ne yafko ha nyinyanta kata loptan. Ni ajabe yelo bondi ka yafko nyinte wulula no suokon. Na sambala loptan. Wo jama ba luketa. Jawrala jamano. Wo keta. Fo ayatina sang ay mo jamalu encourage. Ay mo jamalu encourage puri ka wulu loptanot. Atina fo sang munul ka wulu suokon ne man siya ko ding. Mone keta sang wo traditional bat attendant to nyim botaji. Sang kam katun mol be ka wulu sang mol sawarta kata wulu loptan. Man sula traditional bat attendant la ko think. Wole wo bondiji. Wala nan sang mo be ka wulu loptan. That's wisdom. That's public health intervention. That's good. That's called in public health involving the members of the community. In public health, you need to know the messaging strategy. You need to know the audience. And you must also encourage members of the audience to be part of the intervention. Make it a community-centered intervention. Give them ownership of the intervention. Give them ownership of the intervention. That's what makes advocacy work. But it is nan kana diamu mole keneng. Kana diamu mole yedoya. Itiela moela. They're not gonna listen to you. They're not going to listen to you. But you know the message to give to them. Ye kuma kongo foye mi yalon ko ebe la moela. Kuma kongo min kandita ko dimba. What do not to lokono. What do not to lokono. Eka kumole for mi yalon ko amoyo diata. That's what public health advocacy is about. Ye molu tombong muno yalon ko di influential. Ye daka campaign. That's what brought the Imam Babali and the others into this campaign. They choose them as all the people that they know they have a following to influence them. But that is not the only thing. You have message, choice of audience, and making it community-centered. Not one. All have to be in together if you want to get meaningful results. If you want to get meaningful results. But it is now, kafuko ika diamu molele, ye kuma kongol foye, mi yalo ito moila. Ita model tambang. You want to talk to Muslims. You collect a collection of, activists that don't even practice the 5 daily prayers. And you said you are talking to Muslims. You want to make it a community-centered. You go choose someone who has been known to be controversial, and you think you're going to get people's approval. No, you're not. You're not. Nobody. I have never heard of anyone. Mamo minkoko mutilation wo sotale wo nyanta sotlale wole nyanta kela. Momo. Nobody said that. Mo tije mi ofo. Mo beko circumcision yo demanding bondi. Kok demandingo minka bondi tubabudu. Kok demandingo minka bondi tubabudu. Demandingo minka bondi tubabudu yekodo jama ba nyininka. Kok demandingo minka bondi tubabudu yekodo jama ba nyininka. Yo wolefo. Kok male circumcision done in locally comes with risk, bleeding, infection, poor healing, and even mutilation. You think mutilation is only for women, even men, and even mutilation. Why is it being encouraged to be done in hospital to prevent those risks, to prevent those complications? Why can't we do the same for the women? I watched little of this so-called dialogue they're talking about. They spoke about vesico-vaginal fistula. Do you know how common vesico-vaginal fistula is from post-operative, procedures, medical procedures? Do you know how many? Plenty of them. Many of these women undergo major gynecological operations and develop vesicovaginal fistula when they are not circumcised. Many of them develop that. Even suctioning for abortion could lead to vesicovaginal fistula. Suctioning for abortion could lead to that. And they're telling you that circumcision is what leads to vesicovaginal fistula. That is a list, complication of female circumcision. List complication. You have more more medical procedures that are lead to vesicovaginal fistula, to infection, to sepsis. Go to the obstetrics, labor ward, the postpartum ward in the hospital. Go there and count how many people have infection and review their folders and see how many of them are circumcised. Go there today. To the antenatal ward. Go there now and count the number of people who have infection and count how many of them are circumcised. Go there now. You will be surprised. Like, this is not a force, it is a choice. So those that don't want to do it, leave them. They don't have to do it. Those that want to do it, let them do it. But if they are to do it, help them in a way that it is not going to bring complications for them. There are people that refuse blood transfusion. You know how important blood transfusion is to the human being. But they refuse blood transfusion. That even if they are to die, they will have to die, but they're not going to be transfused. Nobody is calling a conference for them. No one is calling a conference for them. You know how many women died due to lack of blood? How many women died due to lack of blood? And there are people saying that they cannot be transfused. Even if it is to die, it is for them to die. They will have to die, but they're not going to receive blood transfusion. Nobody is campaigning about it. No dialogue about it. Al-Azhar is not talking about it. Al-Azhar University are not talking about it. They're not making a conference about people refusing blood transfusion. Muslims, for that matter. There are Muslims who refuse blood transfusion. This is not just Christians. There are Muslims who refuse blood transfusion. I witnessed that. One of my colleagues, we was on call when we were in OBGYN, was on call. He requested for, a family. I'm not going to call tribe because that goes create problem. He requested for a family to come and donate blood for the woman. They refused to come. Until the woman died. When the woman died, the following morning, they came with a full gele of different men to come and collect the body. Who could have come and donate blood for that woman? They didn't come. When she died, they came with a full gele. You don't have means to advocate for that, and that is defending women right. It's I gave you an example that I was on call that the woman went alone to Birkama. A heavy woman went alone to Birkama. They told the man that the man is from Farato Busumalayan. They told the man that your wife cannot deliver here. We're taking him to Banjul. Her to Banjul. She went alone to Birkama. Cannot deliver there. They told the man that your wife cannot deliver here. We're taking her to Banjul. He still don't have the thought of going to Banjul with her. They brought her to Banjul. Again, we called the man that your wife is here. She needs blood transfusion, otherwise she's gonna die. He still cannot come. The woman died. Guess what happened? The following day he came dressed in a suit. The following day he came dressed in a suit. And I was waiting for him to complain because I would have said something to him. But he didn't complain. And these are happening there. You don't have advocacy about those things. You're telling us nonsense. You should advocate about those things. You're not. Go to the obstetrics, OBGYN department, to the antenatal unit, to the labor ward, to the postnatal ward. Go there and see for yourself How many women are dying? How many women are infected post-operative who are not, circumcised? Go there. Go there. How many women have post-operative wound infection? Go there, who are not circumcised. Go there. Go there and check. But you get NGO money and I told Sedina, I said he has to be careful with NGO money because the day will come, he's going to regret it. You have a degree, you've educated. You have the privilege of being educated. You have qualification. Go get a better job. Don't leave, don't settle for a job that, entails being given handouts as salary. Don't do that. The people that give you, the NGOs that give you the salary, they take a percentage of theirs before they give you the balance. The remaining is what they give you. It's what they give you. Whoever is interested and is very much concerned about mutilation will encourage the modernization of the practice for it to be done in hospital, like the way the male form of it is modernized and has gone through minimizing infection, has gone to preventing bleeding, has gone to preventing complications relating to mutilation. When you remove too much of the foreskin, you're mutilating the person. You touch the flesh. You touch the flesh. And there are men who have had that problem. It is on the kafale, but it will be jail. It is on the but it will be jail. So mutilation is not only about women. And my message to the Supreme Islamic Council is that you are an independent body. You are an autonomous body. Don't accept such invitations. Before they invite you to such things, tell them that you want to know the objective of such dialogue. Every dialogue of that nature will have a proposal. And the proposal will give an outline of the objectives, the aims and objectives of that discussion, and the conclusion of that discussion, the message from the discussion, what it is going to be used for. They have to give you that. When they give you that, you determine whether these people are up to something good or not. Otherwise, you leave it. You refuse because it's not mandatory. The more you entertain these kind of things, the more they're going to have a say, an upper hand in doing what they want to do. Mbafala manika kangoto. Supreme Islamic Council. Al tel mun kafulti kafomi yalong al luta fangoli. Al luta fangoli al manke man sakunda kafuti. Kafuko koko Gambia Armed Forces, for example, yafu ko al nyinki ita akoto. Wala Gambia Police Force al nyinki al ita auto. No. Al mun al fansun kafulti. Ni momo natanang ikale ko ibe dialogue le na vela wala diamo. Ikale ko ibe diamol na fila le nang wala kacha. Janin albeson na pur ale kafu kacha nyinto. Alafu eko tubabol ka fo mi ko proposal. Tubabol ka fo mi ko proposal male ka fo nyama ni kakangot. Yo na fi ale nang. Nyo na fa ale nang. Aliya jube because proposal of this nature. Aba tandila le loko lafta nyine wulindi nyin kachala. Mi ye wulindi kachala. Waka safiri tubabol ka fo le ko aims and objectives. Mi ye wulindi kachala. Aba tala safiri nje. Na woto. Nin kacha nyin banta. Nin kacha kumfata. Iye min soto kacha nyinto. Iba duni laminto. Wo fana nyinta safiri la jil. Nyo na fale nang. Ikale ko nyin nentol wulindi kacha nyina. Te nin kacha banta. Nin kacha kumfata. Ninga mingo min soto kacha nyinto. Mbe nyine kalala. Nyo fale. Naning alla lodu la mambeng. Na alla lodu la mambeng. Alkana song. Alkana aldakana taraji. Katung. Nin kacha sifa. Ika nyunul le use. Ika tubabo ka fami ko propaganda. Ika nyunul le use as propaganda tool. Puriki la kumakango gena sembentu ya. Puriki la kumakango gena sembentu ya. Alkana songala. Don't accept it. Ni proposal na finang. Ni motije mimbo review la noale. Al nyinin karo kal modol jibe. Ya jibe ale. Ya fale ko nyunul bulta nyine kama. Alkana song. Al dakana traji. Alkana song. Yajele ibe katol mi yalon ko ilaftale mo be nengo ka FGM doron fo mo kana female circumcision fo wala FC mo be nengo ke female genital mutilation fo lati ni wo sabati ta bankoto doron wolen nyankato ta bobolal because moto wo fo la ko think e bolto de alkana son bring ya safeje female genital mutilation and Islam dialogue wato la nyenti banna al nyenta fule loko ntol data tor la nyento nalmang FGM bondije ale female circumcision safeji nalmang female circumcision safeji ntol data tor leji al nyenti banna wolto force. That is where al manyana sonna wolto tente ya na fule mba senkana ning alba kachala wudula wodulato alkana FGM safeji alkana FGM safe nali FGM safeji don albetul lesembentu yakan albetul lesembentu yakan ikana FGM fangfo ala haram ko dolo haram ta nyami FGM fo ala haram ko dolo haram ta nyami ala haram ko dolo haram ta nyami muslimo ya alkana fo alkana song ayke kuma kangoti albe min fola alkana song alla ka cha dula wo dulato alkana song topiko FGM yeta saferinje ni FGM bije do ya fe kon datiji buko mu advertisement ol title ya. For example, Imam Fati nyakato ko kachakan yakije dialogue with Imam Fati on FGM. Advertisement all empuritul on FGM because more lebet yamu kanje mi yalon ko iwola image they're gonna use that to sell their propaganda. Alkana song. Yaji FGM safi dawoda do rekale ale kachadron alibang. Afoye ko circumcision. Football la lebije ka fomi ko Cristiano Ronaldo. Ye ko la kabol drink kabol landi ay bondi ake koma yalong coca-cola ko do jalle fota ko do jalle la a jama bakatan because we advertisement no letinya because yalon ko nyo coca-cola kabol landi ji munul ka Cristiano Ronaldo noma wose convince no fanka fuko hey Cristiano yin support le mbap nañu fenk wala na ay kabol ta ay bondi America la, athlete do a Palestinian flagota ala kangokan. We kumakango jamal, we atina mo jamal ye miro so da pure Palestine la ko jibe. Pure Palestine la ko jibe. Sal nyante ke kula niaje FGM safi dawoda e kale na kachale FGM safi je ala fe kon date je nal mo bondi jinta kila. Ye female circumcision di. Al kana son fang ye FGM/sik je. Al kana son altille tamal fangolti mota fala le kalbe minkela iko wolen democracy altille tamal fangolti so ni nata nan iko ale ko kacha ye FGM sa fe jakol kon datiji ni FGM man boji datiji it's not like afugo female circumcision or FGM what is in English when you say you talking about equivalence. You're talking about equivalence. Kamutako ikoko seni wala sana. Seni wala sana means kunsalo. Niko seni wala sana iba kunsalela. So alkana song niko female circumcision or genital mutilation alkana song because ibe kunsalo le yake kunsalo let. Alkana song yal use as advertisement. Alkana song ala. Okay, nyanta fintilal mbada nawat janne to yamay yo ala barka bake thank you.